This is based on a heritage lottery project, all about the lost communities of Sheppey, in particular the lost community at Warden, the lost community at Elmley, and the lost community at Westminster. I know there are others, but they're the ones that we are concentrating on. You will find some images in your programme, and we are going to start with a song that you will all know. We'll sing it to you first, and then you can all join in, heartily and lustily.
Yes, please.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost but not forgotten. Sliding down the muddy cliff edge, sliding down the muddy cliff edge, sliding down the muddy cliff edge, lost but not forgotten.
All together.
Lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost but not forgotten.
Sliding down
the muddy cliff edge, sliding down the muddy cliff edge, sliding down the muddy cliff edge, lost but not forgotten.
Well done. Oh, hello, Maud.
Hello, Rethel, how are you?
Oh, I'm well.
I haven't seen you for ages.
No, well, I just walked up here, up to Warden, to see you.
From Elmley.
From Elmley.
You're still living down there,
I'm still living at Elmley, but I don't know for how much longer.
No, oh,
No.
Right. Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I know. Well, do you know?
But while I was on the way, I met a man, and he was asking me, where's the church at Warden? And I said, church at Warden? There's no church at Warden. And he said he thought that there was. Well, you must know.
Oh, do you know what? I think there was at one time.
Oh.
And I seem to remember it was called St. James's Church.
Oh, St.
It
James's
was,
Church.
yeah, I saw a picture of it. Do you know what? It was a beautiful church. But do you know what happened to it?
No.
It went over the cliff edge.
Over the cliff edge?
Yep. Do you know what? Those cliffs, they're always wearing away. They're wearing away and they're still wearing away.
Wearing away. Well, do you know, I heard a story that sometimes at night you can hear the church bell ringing.
Well, do you know
from
what?
the church.
I've never heard it, but I wouldn't be at all surprised. I'm sure some people have. You know how the rumours go around.
I know. And then there was an old lady, and she lived right down at Shellness, and she walked all along the coast up to where Warden is. And after the church had slid down the cliff edge, she used to go there and pick up skulls.
Skulls?
Skulls.
Oh, that's
Skulls
creepy,
from
isn't
the
it?
graveyard.
Yeah.
And then she took them back to her little cottage at Shellness, and she put all the skulls along the window ledges and all up the stairs, and she put candles in them.
That must have been really creepy at night. You know what? I'd love to go and see that, wouldn't you?
I would too,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I like that sort of thing.
I reckon she thought it would keep the kids away.
Well, I think she was probably right. Yeah. They wouldn't want to go near that, would they, really?
They
You know?
wouldn't. But there was also, I read this in a book, there was a man, and he was called Edward Jacobs.
Yeah.
And in the 17 something or others, when that cliff went down, he dug up, it was like a great hairy elephant.
A hairy elephant? Oh, you mean a mammoth?
Yes.
Yeah, big tusks, great big, big woolly, hairy thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then other people, they picked up, there's shark's teeth.
Yeah, lots of those. You just see them.
Crocodiles,
Yeah.
crocodile bones.
Yeah.
And all kinds of of tropical animals.
Yeah, well, because there was a sea there. Did you know that? Did you know that? He must have been a paleontologist.
Oh, a paleontologist.
He was, yes.
Oh,
I
right.
think he found, didn't he find some kind of bird as well? Like a duck-billed bird.
What, like a
But
sort of dinosaur?
It was a dinosaur, but it had a
Wow.
duck's bill. Yeah,
Imagine finding that at Warden.
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
It
Yeah.
would. It
It
would.
would be amazing. But no, but now we're talking about that cliff, that cliff edge. I seem to remember at one time that I went up there and there was this place called Warden Manor. Yeah? And it was lovely. It's a beautiful house. And it's been there a long time. It's been there for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And just after the time that you're talking about, Edward Jacobs, somewhere along of the back end of the 1700s, 1790, well, the lord of the manor there was called Sir John Sawbridge.
Oh.
Now, he was a really interesting character, and do you know why?
No, why?
Well, he was a magistrate, yeah, which is lovely, yeah, fine, upstanding pillar of the community as they are. But do you know what else he was?
What was he?
He was the leader of a smugglers' gang.
Smugglers?
So talk about poacher and gamekeeper, or gamekeeper and poacher, whichever way you want to put it. But I reckon that's how he got away with it all. He did then. Yeah, so he led this gang, and they had their headquarters, and it was up the Minster Cliff. You know where the Royal Oak Inn was?
Yes.
That's where their headquarters were. And they used to bring all the smuggled goods up the cliff, and hide it there. Well, this one time, he got word from the excise men that they were on their way and they were coming to nab them. So, what do you think he did?
What did he do? I bet he
ran off.
scarpered, didn't he?
He scarpered and left the rest of the
Scarpered.
gang to face the music, yeah? So what he did, he got on his horse and he galloped along the cliff edge and he went back to Warden Manor and he ran upstairs and he kept his boots and he kept his bricks on, but he jumped into bed, he put his nightcap on,
Spurs on and everything.
Spurs too, yeah, and he pulled the night clothes right up to his chin, and then they ran in, and there they found him. Innocent as the day, Mr. Magistrate, who told them off. Something rotten
He
for
told them
disturbing his sleep.
Wow.
The cheek of it. And you know what? He got away with it for a long time. And I reckon it's like baccy for the parson, brandy for the clerk, all of that. The whole area, he had it sewn up. But he didn't get away with it forever.
No?
No. Because one day he was riding along the cliff edge and he fell off his horse.
Oh.
And he injured himself, and 3 days later he died of his injuries.
Oh.
And it's said that if you go out on a dark night, stormy night, you will see him riding along the cliff on his stallion.
A ghost?
A ghost. So he's obviously never had rest. He's never had his rest.
No.
So I reckon he got his just desserts there. didn't
Sounds like it.
he really did. Yep. But while we're on the subject of Warden Manor, a lot more recently, hundreds of years later, it was used during World War I for the soldiers.
Oh.
So it was like rest and recreation, some R&R for the soldiers coming back from the front. And it was used by an organisation who were called TOG H.
Wow.
Now that is a
It's a
funny
funny
name, isn't
name.
it? And I've always wondered what it meant. So I looked it up. Now, TOG H, okay, their headquarters was in London and it was called Talbot House. And they were a very upstanding, organisation, a Christian organisation. But because it was army people that they looked after, the army people shortened it to TH. Now, some of those army people were signal men. So in the signals, T is TOG. So it became
TOG H.
And it's been that ever since, 100 years.
Well.
Been around. And it's been used by the members all the way up, in the 60s, for holidays.
Well, nice
And it
place
was
to go.
a very
Warden.
nice place to
Lovely.
go. Lovely. It had all sorts of things, you know. It had a putting green and it had a lovely pond and they used to swim there, used to play tennis, and they had artists coming down sometimes.
Wow.
And this particular holiday, one of the artists drew a big witch on the refectory wall.
witch?
A witch. And a witch on a boomstick. And they wrote a little poem about the owner. And his name was Vic Martin. He was a real character. Right? And it went, here we serve warden hags, casting spells in paper bags. Curses on you witches all, who made poor Vic drive through the wall.
Wow.
So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? That
It makes you
I
wonder,
think what happened
yes.
is he must have had a little accident and he's knocked a wall down, and it shows you they had a lot of affection for him to do that.
They did.
Now what I
yes.
don't know is whether that is still there,
Oh, that would be interesting.
because after that
Right.
it became a monastery.
Oh.
Would you believe it? Monks and nuns, 50 of them. They moved in, and it was something like the Immaculate Heart of the Sorrowful Mary, or something along those lines. Anyway, and they used it as a monastery.
Wow.
Now I wonder what they thought when they walked in there. They saw that on
That
the wall.
witch on the wall and all the hags.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It
That
would.
be interesting.
It would. But it's all lost now.
It's all lost now.
Lost.
Yeah. And
Lost.
the thing is, that could go over the cliff, because
It
it's
could.
only a few hundred yards away from the edge. And there have been lots of things that have gone over.
Yes.
You know, the post office went, the bungalow went, and very recently, a couple of years ago, I
Right.
read in the paper,
Yeah?
there was this house on the edge. What do you reckon it was called?
Well, what was it called?
It was called Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Which is tempting fate, let's
It
face
is.
it. It's tempting fate. Well, this lady bought it in all good faith. Oh, it was going to be good for a long time. She had 5 kids. Well, she thought nothing of it. And then she started hearing some creaks and groans and thought, well, that's what houses do. Then she noticed a crack going up to her front gate.
Oh.
And she did begin to wonder. And then they were sitting having their tea, and the blind fell off the window. And then the hole at the back of the house slid down the cliff.
Slid down the cliff.
And so they had to get the fire brigade had to get them out, and that was it. And they lost everything. They lost their memories.
Lost.
And, and that's what's happening.
Wow.
Things are sliding down the cliff. Lost.
Lost. Well, it's time to sing again now.
It is.
Then.
It's time to sing.
Let's first about Elmley. We start with Lost. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost but not forgotten. Schoolhouse gone, but where's the children? Schoolhouse gone, but where's the children? Schoolhouse gone, but where's the children? Lost but not forgotten. Lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost, lost, lost forever, lost but not forgotten.
So, well, I'm Ethel and I still just about live at Elmley. But I can tell you, I don't think we'll be there much longer.
No?
No. Well, I mean, there is virtually nothing at Elmley, but there was a brick making,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and a few people came to make the bricks. But then they opened up a really big cement making factory.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I
And
guess
it was
the
called
materials were there,
The
weren't they? That's it,
materials
yeah,
were there because there
yeah.
was all the mud.
That's
And
right.
it was clay.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like the clay that they use at Sittingbourne,
That's right.
making the bricks down Milton Creek.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the cement works, it was called the Turkey Cement Works.
It's a funny name.
Don't think anybody knows why exactly. And so they built the houses. They built quite a few houses. All lovely little houses they were. Beautiful. And then of course there were children. And at first, because there was a church there, had been there hundreds of years, at first they educated the children in the vestry of the church. But soon there were so many children,
They couldn't fit them all in.
couldn't fit them all in. So they decided to build a school. So they built a school there. They built a schoolhouse for the schoolmistress and a path so that she didn't get her skirts wet and muddy when she went to
that was a
school
good
to teach
post
the
for her,
children.
wasn't
It
it?
was a good post.
Yeah.
And then it carried on and it was getting bigger and bigger. They had a pub. Pub called
Well,
the
of
Globe.
course they did.
Yeah, of
Any
course they
self-respecting village would have a pub.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the cement works shut down.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And of course, once the cement works shut down, there was no work apart from a couple of jobs looking after the sheep.
It's a common story, isn't it? It's a common story.
It's a common
Yeah.
story. So virtually everybody moved from Elmley. At the end, there was only 5 children in that school. 3 of them belonged to the schoolmistress.
Oh, that's funny, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
She could have taught them at home, couldn't she?
She could.
It must have been lonely though, mustn't it?
I think
Oh.
it was lonely.
Yeah.
And that also, because it was all swampy and there was all these ditches,
Yeah.
there were malaria mosquitoes.
Oh, that's not good.
There were malaria mosquitoes.
In England?
In
There
England.
was malaria in England. I didn't know that.
On the
Yeah.
Isle of Sheppey, and they used to go around with flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Get rid of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, that would put pay to it, wouldn't it? Really, yeah. But the church, didn't they use that church? And once no one was using it as a church, they used it as a cattle shed for a while.
They
I
would,
think I
wouldn't
heard
they?
someone
The
say
farmers.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's better than not using it, I suppose.
I suppose so. They took the tombstones away
Yeah.
and sent them up to East Church.
Oh, All Saints. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But I think the bodies, they're
They're
still
under
buried.
the marsh somewhere, aren't they?
No church, but
Yeah.
just the ruins of the schoolhouse still standing.
Yeah.
Loads of people go up there to see it, and of course the birds.
Oh, the birds are beautiful. Oh, yes. Yeah, you can see all sorts of things, can't you? Birds and hares. And I must come down and visit you because that's made me feel really nostalgic.
Yes.
I'd love to see that again. Yes. So yeah. But now you're talking about Elmley, I think there's a royal connection to
All
Elmley.
right.
Oh,
Royal
yes.
connection,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I read somewhere that King James II is connected to Elmley, and it's on the time where he was trying to go into exile.
Oh,
So he came down from London and he escaped onto Elmley, and he stayed at King's Hill.
King's Hill.
King's Hill, which is
Ah,
near where
still
Elmley
there,
Church was.
yes.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
of course there's the King's Ferry Bridge.
there is. That's
all
right.
named after him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he stayed there for a while, and then he went across in a boat. Friends helped him to Orr, but they were noticed. But he was all right. He got ashore. Do you know why? He disguised himself as a Jesuit priest.
Did he?
So they didn't notice him, or maybe they didn't want to. So he made his way towards Faversham, but at that time, then Sir Richard Marsh and his men spotted him.
Oh.
So they spotted him, they took him up, they took him down to Faversham, kept him there for a while, clapped him in irons and took him back to London, put him in jail. But would you believe it, he escaped again.
Did he?
He must have had a lot of help, I think, that king.
He must.
Yeah.
He must.
Well, he escaped again, and he came to Gravesend, first of all, and then he came to Queenborough.
Queenborough.
Yeah, and from
Right.
Queenborough, then he got across to France in a fishing smack.
Well.
And you know what? He never set foot on English soil again after
God.
that. So that's it.
Ah,
Lost to England.
lost to England.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, time for another song. This time we come to the story of Westminster. So all together.
Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost but not forgotten.
Right, and the verse. Houses crushed, but not our memories.
Houses crushed, but not our memories. Houses crushed, but not our memories. Lost, but not forgotten. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, but not forgotten.
Well, the story of Westminster, it's really, really tragic. The people that got moved out and their houses knocked down. My friend Daff, who funnily enough happens to be standing right over there, and her picture is right there with the big dog. When she was a little girl, she used to live in Westminster, or she used to go and visit her relations. There was Auntie Queenie and there was Auntie Kate. Oh, sitting up stiff like this and strict, very strict she was.
Yes. Those aunties, you know, they were then.
They were in those days. And she lived there till she was 100. And that was when they were all thrown out of Queenborough. And do you know why?
Why?
Well, my friend Daff told me, because when she grew up, she used to work for the council. And there was a man in that council, and he was called John Young. Not meant to mention his name, really. He was called John Young.
But you do, don't you?
You do, don't you?
Yes.
When he was a nipper, most little boys wanted to be steam engine drivers. But not him. He wanted to be a demolisher.
No.
He wanted to be in charge of a wrecking ball.
Not a wrecking ball.
A wrecking ball. And so, soon as he had the chance, of course he came from Faversham, didn't he?
Right, well that explains it.
So he kept his eyes open for some houses on the island that he could use with a wrecking ball.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the houses all went, and that was the end of Westminster, and all the families had to move out. And it was so sad because it was a lovely little community. I'm sure you've heard about it.
I remember there was a map, and it was drawn like a plan that was drawn by someone that used to live there.
That's right.
And it had every street on it,
and
it
every
had all the
house.
street lights, and it had all the places. Things like children used to play here.
Yes.
Which is really, really sad, isn't it? It's really
is sad
poignant.
because it was right by the sea wall. You had the railway line one side.
That's right,
And
yeah.
then you'd cross over there. There was Cromwell Road, and
Montague
there
Road.
was Montague Road.
Yeah.
And then just over there was a few allotments, and there was the sea wall
Yeah.
where people used to go and sit and play.
That's right. And do you know what? I think that must have been somewhere near where the football team would play.
Oh,
Do you know
team?
Westminster had their own football team?
Did they?
And they used to meet in the pubs, and there were two pubs for this tiny little place. You know, one was the Globe and one was the Medway Tavern, and that's where they'd plan their campaigns. And do you know what? They were a good team. They took home the double one year.
Who did they beat then?
Well, they beat Gillingham,
Gillingham?
which is pretty good for a
Blimey.
tiny team. Yeah. So that pitch, they used to call it their 12th man. And do you know why?
Well, no. Why is that?
Well, you think about it. It wasn't much of a pitch. It would have grass on it like this, and it would have rocks, and it would have bits of trench that you could fall into.
Yeah.
So it's fine if you know it, if it's the home team, it's the home
right.
ground. But if you're the away team, well, you're not going to be able to play so
No.
easy. So they always called it their 12th man.
Oh, their 12th man.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, and you know, they must have held Westminster in real affection because they used to call it Wessie.
Oh.
You came from Wessie town.
Yes.
Yeah? And I know because my Auntie Sue used to say that she would not have wanted to grow up anywhere else but in Wessie.
No.
So
no.
it was a strong community, yeah. And she had this photograph, and it was of all the ladies were sitting along the seawall, and they were all knitting. So they must have been the ladies' knitting circle.
Ladies knitting.
Yeah,
yes.
and while they were knitting, they were watching their kids who were paddling in the water, you know, paddling away. And then up on the shingle bank, that's where the fishermen used to catch fish. Now, they weren't tiddly little cod like you get now. They get £10 cod, big ones.
Big ones.
Yeah, big ones. So, yeah, it's amazing when you think that the sea was so close.
Yes. Well, of course, in 1953,
Oh, 53.
that was the floods, wasn't it?
That was when the floods
I mean,
came.
the whole
yeah.
of Sheerness got the floods,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Westminster got it really bad,
Uh-huh.
and the sea wall was breached.
Yes.
And they all had to form a line.
They did.
With
Yeah,
sandbags,
the sandbags.
carrying
That's
the
right.
sandbags along
Yeah.
to try and fill the hole in the seawall. Stop
That's
the
right.
water.
But the water wasn't stopped.
It
was
wasn't
It
stopped.
came all the way in, and it must have come up to the ground floor, to the sills. And do you know why? Because I read in the paper there was this young man, and he woke up and he was floating on his mattress.
Really?
So he must have been sleeping downstairs.
Must
and
have
he's-
been.
it's
Oh,
incredible, isn't it?
poor lad.
And they had to ration as well. They had to ration food for a while, getting food in.
What, like during the war as
Like
well?
during the war, yeah, and potatoes, £1 a person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't even ration potatoes in the war, did they?
No, I don't think they did.
I expect
Don't
their
think they did.
allotments were all flooded too.
Well, yeah, everything would have been flooded.
Everything was
Yeah.
flooded. Well, I heard this little story also. There was a little lad called Harry, and he was about 7 years old, and all the kids had gone down to play, but by the water, by the sea,
Yeah.
and then
They were always told not to do
yeah,
that.
there
They
was
were always told
a
not to do
little
that.
girl called Ada. She fell in. Well, I mean, they were all little kids. They didn't know what to do. But Harry, presence of mind, he looked around and he found an iron hook, and he managed to get this hook, and he managed to hook the back of Ada's dress, and he managed to drag her out
Wow.
and saved her from drowning.
Amazing.
And so he was Harry, the hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was all written up in the paper. He was given a medal.
Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it? Oh, what an amazing
Yeah.
little boy.
And it's all the community there now, and it's all lost.
All gone.
All lost.
All gone.
So we're going to sing the Westminster song for a final time. And lost. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost but not forgotten. Houses crushed, but not our memories. Houses crushed, but not our memories. Houses crushed, but not our memories. Lost but not forgotten. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost, lost, lost forever. Lost but not forgotten. Well, very much. Thank you indeed. Any questions, we might be able to answer them, or if we can't, Jonathan might be
we've
able
got
to, or
Daff
Daff might be
here.
able to. We've got the historians.